It is time for a TBR. I almost said Friday reads. It is time for a TBR. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you the books I plan on reading in September. There are a lot of titles yet again this month, so I'm not going to do too much of an introduction other than to say that I will start with my social reads for the month, and then I will move on to the romance titles that I've picked for the month. Then I picked also some nonfiction, of course, as always, and then rounding things off with some additional fiction, or finishing things off with some fiction titles, even though there's a little fiction in all of them everywhere. It's mostly fiction, but there's some nonfiction too. Variety is good. Variety is good. Okay, so first up, some social reading. I am going to be buddy reading This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is the first book in the Monsters of Verity duology. It is a YA urban fantasy, and I am buddy reading this with Izzy, Punk Rock Girl PA. The live show for this will be on her channel on Tuesday, September 29th at 7 p.m. EST. I will leave that information down below, as well as all of the books I mentioned, and anyone I mentioned, anything I mentioned will be down below for reference. Yeah, so you are welcome to join us in reading this if you have yet to read This Savage Song. I know it was very popular a couple years ago. It was up for one of the BookTube SFF awards. I know the second book was for sure, and I'm pretty sure this one was as well. So, but if you haven't read it or you would like to reread it, you are welcome to join us. I am looking forward to it. Next up, what do we have? Okay, Cat Got Your Diamonds by Julie Chase. This is the first book in the Kitty Couture Cozy Mystery series. I know I don't read a lot of cozy mystery series, so this one is a little bit outside my comfort zone, but I decided to give it a shot. I am reading this as a part of Nicole from Who Picked This Book and Jen have their book club that is live streams on Wednesday nights. Yeah, and this is the next book that they plan on reading. They're actually reading the 4 books in this series for the month of September, so Wednesday nights live streams from the 2nd, and then, 2nd, 9, 16, 23, I think those are the numbers. I will link to Nicole's channel down below just in case I got any of those dates wrong. I know that the one for this one is September 2nd at 9 p.m. EST or 6 p.m. PST, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. I've already actually started this one. I started a bit early because the live show is on the 2nd, so that's really early in the month. And yeah, so I am going to check it out. I am curious to see what it'll be like and very curious to hear their thoughts on the book as well. Next up, we have some manga. I have been missing reading manga, so I was so thrilled to see the announcement that the Fall Into Manga Readathon is happening this month. This is hosted by Shay Geeks Out, and it's the Fall Into Manga Readathon, and it is the Manga Love Readathon, and it is the fall edition. So it is going to be from September 21st to September 27th. There is a 9-prompt board for different prompts to enjoy throughout the readathon. I'm actually going to do a separate readathon TBR later in the month, potentially in a Friday Reads or on its own. I'm not quite sure. It depends on how the filming and scheduling works out. I get all of my manga from the library, so when I film this, it's too early for me to pick out titles. They will have expired by the time that the readathon happens, because there's only a 3-week loan period, which is actually, pretty generous. Like, it's a good, it's what it's always been. 3 weeks is, I've lived in Toronto all of my life, so that is what I'm used to. Anyway, though I do know for sure, though I do plan on reading more of, if not finishing, Vampire Knight. I'm currently on volume 10, and the library does have the whole series, and so if no one else borrows it before I can get my hands on it, because right now they're sitting there like available and they only have 1 copy of each, so I'm just hoping nobody checks it out between now and like, I don't know, like the 10th or something, or maybe, I guess it would have to be the 28th, working 14 backwards, or no, oh no, I could go as early as the 7th. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I will be picking my actual TBR closer to the time, and I'm very excited about this. I haven't been reading as much manga this year, so I was very happy to see that this was happening in September. I was going to take September off of readathons, but then when I saw the announcement, I was like, I have to participate. So that is what I'm going to be reading for that. So next up, we are going on to the romance, and I actually have a physical edition. Oh my gosh, I bought an actual paperback. Wow. Yeah, and so the first thing I am going to be reading, or one book that I will be reading this month, is Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. This is the first book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, which is a hugely popular paranormal romance series, which I have never read. And so this leads me to share that I am working on a bit of a project. I have a bunch of, I have a list of iconic and popular romance authors that I have yet to read, some of which are strongly associated with one particular series. I think that is the case with J.R. Ward. And actually, though I'm not sure. A lot. That I should not say. I don't know if that's true. I just know that this. I'm actually assuming that because like it's. The series is very long. It has a spin-off series, and then there are more ones, but they sound like they could... Oh, the Bourbon Kings. I don't know. So it is a paranormal romance series that, like, I don't know off the top of my head how many titles, but it's probably at least 20, and I think it's currently also being released. So there's a lot. So it comes up, like, I think every year in, like, the Rita Awards, there's usually one of the ones that's nominated, and I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, it's a book 24. So let's start at the beginning. One thing I don't know what to do is whether I should have this as the first book to read or leave it to the last, because will I just want to keep reading book 2, book 3, book 4? I don't know. So hopefully I like it. I do like paranormal romance, but this is one series that I haven't read. So yeah, so I have a whole list of romance authors that I am trying out. I'm going to pick one a month. I actually have a TBR jar for that, and I didn't film when I picked this one, but let me know if you would want me to do that as a separate video. It would just be a really short video of like announcing who I pick, because I will have to pick someone in September for October. So yeah, but this month is going to be Dark Lover. I think it's vampires. 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 I'm down with that. Next up, I am going to be reading Cinder Man by Stuart. Oh my god, I'm so excited about this. So this is part of a sub-series of Harlequin called More Than Men, and I think it was from the 90s. I can't tell from here, but I read another in this series called The Dark and Stormy Night earlier this year, and I loved it. It was a bit outdated with some things, but it was really, really interesting. I didn't know it was paranormal, and this one totally, it looks, the other cover, I shared it as part of the summer fling, the different covers. The other one is like, did I leave it? No, I didn't. The other one is like some kind of lab, and it looks like blood or in test tubes or a beaker or something. So I don't know how that relates to this. An experiment goes wrong. I have no idea. Anyway, I am excited because this is available digitally at my library, whereas a lot of older romance titles aren't. I think there's only a couple in the series that were available digitally, but I can't wait to read it. I'm trying to continue also, so I'm trying to read new romance authors. I'm also trying to continue series or read more from authors that I previously enjoyed. That is the case with Stuart. That is the case with this More Than Men series. So that is why I am picking, although really, do you need any reason? Like that cover, oh my gosh, I love it so much. I love it so much. So the Toronto Public Library cover is the new cover, but this is the original cover. It's pretty awesome. So Firestarter, that's what it looks like to me. Like the Stephen King novel and book. No, book and movie. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to read that. I'm also going to read A Vikings Promise. This is a historical romance, Viking romance by Elizabeth Rose, and it is a novella. It's only 100 pages. In August, a fair amount of the romances I read were on the shorter side, and so I am trying to make sure that I continue that, because I do feel like it increases my habit of reading romance to read shorter works, whereas this is like almost 400 pages, but this is only like 100 pages, and I do love Viking romances, so, but most of the ones I've read are by the same few authors, and I haven't read Elizabeth Rose before, so I thought it would be good to work into the mix to read Viking romances by other authors, and so that is what I am doing with A Vikings promise. I wonder what he promised. Okay, next up we have Secrets Never Told by Rochelle Alers. This is, I think this might be somewhere in between the line of romance and women's fiction. From the synopsis, it has some sort of like family secrets of the past that the protagonist is looking into. This is an author that I haven't read before, but was recommended by Steph from Steph's Romance Book Talk, and so I am going to check this one out. It was available on Scribe, so I'm curious to see what it will be all about. And then, last up for romance, I am going to be reading Fool for Love by Harper Bliss. This is the first in the High Rise series. It might be a duet, so this is another one that's quite short. It's under 100 pages. It's a female-female romance. The only thing I'm worried about is if it's sort of like part 1 of 2, so because it says novella 1. So, yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I'm looking forward to it. It is a contemporary romance, and so I'm looking forward to checking this one out. It is one that I have on Kindle. And next up, where are we going next? Oh, nonfiction. That's what I said, right? Nonfiction? Yes, nonfiction. So, nonfiction, a history of reading. This is, I mentioned this in the history challenge that I might read this for then, but I didn't, so, but it was on my table, so I was like, I should read that in September. And this is by Alberto Mangual? I don't know. Manuel? I'm not sure how to pronounce that correctly. And so, yeah, so this is the one that I said that like is nonfiction but also fiction, because it's a nonfiction book, but it will be talking about fiction, I imagine, because it will be talking about reading. I'm actually really curious about this. The chapter titles are really interesting. Metaphor of reading. Oh, ordinateurs of the universe. Ordinators. I said it French, as in computer. Ordinateur? The symbolic reader? I think it also has like the translator as reader, the author as reader. So it's different, it's different approaches of reading, and it's kind of interesting. I wonder if this would fit as a micro history, because it's not, I like reading about stuff that is, or learning about something that's sort of like around a topic. So it's not the history of books, it's the history of reading. So what is the impact of reading? I'm curious about that. I'm very, very curious about that. So that is another one that is on my list. And then also for nonfiction, I am going to start the Essential Art History. This is by Duro and Greenhalgh. And this is literally a lexicon. So it's a dictionary of art stuff. What do we have here? Sigmund Freud. Great. Let's pick something else. Civilization. Oh, I don't know how to say that. Wow, so there will be learning here. Beaux arts. Actually, don't know what that is. What's beaux arts? The phrase literally means fine arts in French, and in a French-speaking context is used to differentiate the arts of painting and sculpture from the decorative arts or crafts. Oh, so it's a bit distinctive. All right, I'm not going there. So anyway, this one's going to take me a while to read. I definitely will not finish it within the month of September, but I just like having books like this on the go where you can just read a little bit at a time and you can learn a little bit at a time. I know often this kind of stuff is more like kept as reference and you look up something if you don't know anything about it or you want to learn more. I think now we often go to Wikipedia for that, or online just generally, but I think when you read something that someone has curated, then you don't have to have any connection to what you're learning about at all. So I'm really curious to check this out. So lots of learning I think is going to be happening in September, which totally fits, right? Because it's a whole back to school thing, although this year, folks, I don't even know how things are going to go with the whole back to school thing, but I'm not going to go in that direction for now. I just feel like it's an opportunity to September, I feel, always feels like a fresh start, always feels like a bit of a new year within the year, and so learning seems to come hand in hand with that. So those are my two nonfictions for the month, and next up, some more fiction. So I'm going to be reading Sorcerers by Maurice Broaddus with Otis Whitaker, illustrations by Jim Mahfood. Oh, I I have a hard time with that name. This is an urban fantasy illustrated novella. I mentioned this in my recent haul video, and it is a sort of urban fantasy coming of age but later in life type of story. I'm really curious. I read Buffalo Soldier by Maurice Broaddus earlier this month and really enjoyed it, and all of his titles look really interesting, but this was released this year, and it was also picked up by AMC to be adapted, so I'm really curious to see that as well, although I don't get AMC, but eventually usually AMC stuff comes onto Netflix, or you can get it through Google Play or rent it or whatever, but no, you can't rent TV. I wish you could rent TV. You know, Google Play you can only buy. Anyway, I'm really curious to check this out. Urban fantasy is one of my favorite genres, so I definitely wanted to read it. So there we go, there's that. Then another urban fantasy, Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the first book in the 6th World series. I think this is another one that was shortlisted for the BookTube SFF Awards. I know almost nothing about it other than, like, I want to read it. I remember feeling like that right away from this cover, from Lightning. It's actually a little bit on the short, it's just under 300 pages, and really short chapters. Look at all those chapters. I love short chapters. I'm a huge fan of short chapters, and I really want to read it. And I haven't been reading quite as much new urban fantasy. I worked my way through an entire series over the summer, so it's time to start some new series, so I'm looking forward to checking this one out. And then we have, what is next? Okay, a book to film adaptation. I've decided to read The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. This has been already adapted. Actually, it's on Disney Plus either now or soon. I keep seeing the ads on Goodreads, so it's going to be soon. And this features a gorilla and I guess an elephant. In the trailer, in the image, in the promo image, I mostly see the gorilla. This is a middle grade book, I believe, and it's illustrated, and it's on my book to film list for this year, which I have been very unattentive to, but now that this is being released, I decided to read it. Usually I read them before, but this year is just, you just work with what you got. You just work with what you got. You work in the now. And then I'm also going to read Prime Meridian by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is science fiction. I think it's a novella. I think it's around 120, 150 pages. And I've only read a short story by her before that was in a collection. All of her books look interesting. I have a fair amount of fantasy on the go, so I decided to go with this one, which is science fiction, because I tend to only read one book per genre at a time. So, and I have this on Kindle, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. And then what else do we have? Love's Comedy by Ibsen. Oh, Ibsen, how I have missed you. I've had a couple months off of reading Ibsen, and I'm trying to read through his entire works, and I don't know, maybe seven titles in, something like that. But this summer I read Shakespeare for All the World's a Page in July, and then in August I've been reading the plays by Molière. So I have I'm coming back to Ibsen, and I don't know anything about this one other than the title. I did do a title card, I did do a character sheet at some point, but it was a while ago, so I don't remember what it was. And that actually is it. My goodness, that did not seem as many as I originally thought, although, you know, even just the physical books, when we put them together, well, it's only 4. But I have more. Like, I pared down a lot, but I really try and not put books on the TBR where I'm already in the middle of something of the same genre. I think that happened a couple of times. I am still in the middle of the Molière plays, but I will finish at least one or all by the end of the month. But yeah, so I try not to do that. So anyway, those are my selections. Let me know if you want to see a TBR jar pull for romance authors. I do actually have it right just here, and you can see I've already read. My first pull was Beverly Jenkins, and then now J.R. Ward. So I have them separated out to paranormal, historical, and contemporary. So I think in October I will pick a contemporary, which is pink, And yeah, so let me know if that would be of interest to do a TBR jar pull. It would just be a really short video of me picking the author, and then maybe asking for suggestions if it's someone who I don't know exactly what I'm going to read. And then that will be my October pick. Hopefully this will go well. I tried a romance authors like exploration like last year, and it totally didn't work. But I think I have a better sense of how I want it to roll this time. So fingers crossed. And I already read Beverly Jenkins, and I read Barbara Cartland. She's still in there somewhere. She isn't, but like, you know, her name is still in there somewhere. And then and yeah, and now J.R. Ward. So I don't know if I should start this first or last. That is going to be the question, and that is a question for another day. So let me know, how is your reading going for September? Do you get those sort of back to school vibes? Do you do that sort of fresh start new year thing? I really like to think of September that way, so hopefully lots of learning, lots of history, lots of art, lots of all the things, lots of reading. Lots of reading. That's actually really what I should be saying, is lots of reading. So anyway, let me know what you're reading in September. Let me know what sounds the most exciting out of these titles. I think it ended up being about 15. Are you participating in any of the buddy reads or the Fall into Manga Love Readathon? I really hope you are. I really love manga. I'm really glad to be have the opportunity, the push, the encouragement to read some manga. I haven't read many issues this year, with the library closed and all that stuff, but it's open again. But I've decided to stay digital for this summer and this year. So anyway, on that happy note, I hope you are having a wonderful day and you have lots of wonderful reading plans ahead. Thanks so much for watching.